It's my great pleasure to be here today and to talk with you about how to apply behavioral insights to improve water quality of households. As you can see, I've already transformed myself from my earlier performance in the Prove It talk show, and I tried to adjust my outfit to meet whatever the most people had. I've got my black outfit on, just like the poll results said, so I'm trying to relate better. Maybe I should have done that when I was going up for the competition and for the final vote. But it was a fantastic competition. And Ganga, congratulations on the victory. Well earned, well earned. So I want to talk about some exciting research that we're doing in the Center for Behavioral and Experimental Agro-Environmental Research, or CBER. You'll hear from Paul Ferraro tomorrow about some additional work we're doing. And this is, of course, important research supported by the National Science Foundation, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and others, because it's really important that we begin to understand and address these fundamental challenges that we're having. So let's take a look and see what we know about water quality, right? We've heard poets talk about it. We've heard activists work on it. These are critical issues around dead zones and algal blooms and so many other challenges around water that we have in our society. So the top left just shows the dead zones that occur in the Gulf of Mexico, in the United States, around Texas and Louisiana, and in so many of the coastal areas throughout the world. And the algal blooms that happen in the Great Lakes in the United States, or in our small ponds and streams nearby our own homes. These are fundamental challenges. And if we think about it, we've often talked about industry pollution. We've talked about that as challenges that occur as part of the production of many of the technologies that we enjoy, but as byproducts and offshoots. Likewise, we've just heard about some issues around food and the challenges of excess fertilizer that gets into our water bodies and it has effects. But we also need to understand that some of these decisions are being made at a very household level. And that's what I'm going to focus on, because right now there's things we can be doing in our homes to make improvements and changes. Some of that is just being more careful about our fertilizer use and making sure it doesn't run off. We don't put it on the sidewalks or the streets. Make sure that it's really helping grow the plants that we're trying to grow. Also, we can be capturing the water on our properties, right? On rain barrels or rain gardens, or planting more trees just helps in so many different ways. And then, of course, for those in rural areas have septic systems, how do we get them to work better? How do they function properly? Often we can't see them, but we're important to know that they are making an impact on our water quality. And so this is the challenge that I want to bring us to. And I want to talk about some of the science that we see in going forward on important issues related to water quality. And ultimately, what is needed is the development of new evidence-based blueprints, policies, and programs that can be informed by behavioral science and bring real on-the-world results to the world that we care about. Now, unfortunately, this literature is still developing. A colleague of mine, Laura Paul, just did a study in the Chesapeake and looked at all the studies out there on homeowner decisions and only found 7 that had strong evidence behind them. We're doing a lot of spraying and praying, saying, hey, we have got good ideas. We know this is important. We got to take it to the next step. And we got to combine and work with academia and nonprofit groups and governments so we avoid the loading dock problem, right? So the science that is being developed is answering the questions that society has and wants to see addressed. Otherwise, we'd be like this poor beer delivery, right? We have wonderful news, but we get there too late, right? The truck's already left, and we are too late to deliver the results that we need. And so I'm excited about what RARE is doing. I'm excited about these days that we're here together to help bridge this loading dock problem, to make sure that good science is out there helping inform important and needed programs. So let me talk about some of the work that we are doing and bring some insights into it, because ultimately environmental problems, ones around water, are about behavioral problems, right? We got ourselves into this mess because of our behavior. And so we should think about the fact that we're going to get out of it. We're going to have to change our behavior. And so we need to get people to adopt more practices, to use them more, and to sustain them over time, right? Just getting adoption is simply not good enough. We're going to have that, because that's the essence of sustainability, is that continued use over time. So let's go. Let's talk about how we go about getting this research results. Let's talk about how we have our science help inform these important questions. And we go out, and our research is all in person with people making actual decisions on real items with real money and making it happen. So here's our mobile vehicle that we take around the mid-Atlantic in the United States and throughout the country and try to intercept people and make them have some choices. And here are some of the choices that we like to pose to people is, what can they do to make their home, their landscape more water friendly? Could they use things like a soaker hose or have better use of fertilizer? So it's really taken in by the plants and trees. Can they, use other soil tests to see, does their soil need this fertilizer at all? So we have real products with thousands of people making choices. And importantly, we always want to make sure they don't have to have an item. We don't want people just to say, yeah, we like the environment. Of course, we'll do something. We want people to make decisions that they will live with and have. So that's why putting money where their mouth is a critical thing, because there's important questions that need to be answered. And let me give you an example. If we're trying to frame the problem, how best should we do that? There's a couple different ways that we do it all the time, right? One is we talk about the science. We talk about the importance of these problems, the importance of the number of people that are being affected, the chemicals that are in our water bodies, and all the challenges and changes that have happened there. And so that could be a scientific information, and we certainly could talk a lot about that. Or we could talk about the importance of a narrative, the importance of how this water quality impacts one person, how it goes through and impacts the lives of those people who love that person. So we went about and tested it, provide the same information, same products, and yet we gave two different messages to two different groups that were just separated by random, right? Some people got one message, some people got the other, and said, does this matter or not? And so over 1,000 people participated in this study. And let me just kind of give you a hint on the results, a quick little story. So one is we can see that blue is consistently higher than the yellow, right? Didn't matter if it was on buying fertilizer or biocharts, soil test kits, or soaker hose. For those 1,200 people who participated in it, overwhelmingly, they found that narrative story about that person negatively impacted by water quality was the thing that drove their behavior, increased willingness to pay for these items by 11%. Now, importantly, one message doesn't fit all. We found that the people who responded and participated in this study differed based on their political views. This study was conducted in the United States, and we found that Democrats, the liberal party in our country, identified more strongly with that personal narrative and were giving more for these items, versus those that were conservative were less inclined towards that. And so Republicans did not find that message important. So if we're going to try to improve water quality, as I mentioned in the competition, we've got to make sure that we're reaching everyone. We have to work on these things together, and we're going to need different messages for different people. Now, another question that comes up is how best to frame the discussion, right? So if we think of Smokey Bear in the United States to try to avoid forest fires, we see different messages have been framed. Some are relatively negative about, a pointing bear telling you that you can prevent forest fires. Or there's some more positive message that can be carried across about working together, being pals, and doing the right thing. Now, what works, right? What's the most effective? We can imagine case studies and maybe some people having different preferences for one or another, but we need to have a strong science behind the behaviors as well as strong science on the issues around water quality. And so we put these to a test. Again, we had randomization. Some people got a positive message, some people got a negative message, and some people got no message at all, a classic control situation. And so the negative framing was really about, you're going to turn something green, that's good, to bad. And if you don't do something, you will be contributing to pollution. Or positive is, hey, if you do something, you can make things better. Nutrients will decrease. And we can see that in this message with hundreds of adult participants, that again, we see a very strong indication, in this case, that positive messaging matters, right? People like to know that if they take steps, they can contribute, they can make things better. And this, in case, actually improve things by 1/3 compared to the control, which was a treatment which has no information at all. This is the opportunity to make these investments. Now, these are two simple examples about how we can use behavioral science, use good testing in the context of the decisions that we want people to make, and how they can go about, informing decisions and making good choices to promote conservation in the future. So thanks for letting me share, and great luck with the rest of this wonderful 3-day event.